Mega Scuttler is now armed and preparing to explode. This will be a fairly big explosion, so please stand back about 22 miles. Countdown commencing now. 1,000. 999. 998. 997. 996.
Hello, Snap, member. How are you?
Passengers will kindly behave themselves on the journey.
Many Voices 3.
APA Centauri presents Many Voices 3, starring Mark Strickert, Scott Marshall, Edward Quentin, Mark Dykman, Chris Corsi, Shannon Prickard, James Spielberg and family, Peter Erkowitz and family, my friend Victoria McManus, plus special guest appearances by former ACers Al Stern, Mike Patrick, Bruce Canwell. Dedicated to old friends and family, ex-APA Centauri members, and Linda McCartney. Copyright 1998, all rights reserved.
No fatuous remarks, please.
Here's Mark Strickert.
Well, believe it or not, I do feel your pain. Probably got home Friday or next Monday. It was either a real crappy day, or it was a perfectly fine day. I say it couldn't get much worse, and you see the return address on the envelope and said, lady, So,
hey everyone, this is Edward Quentin out here in Kansas City. Just thought I'd give you a quick update about what's going on out here. I'm sorry that I missed something for the March mailing because I had a work crisis. Basically, my project got cut, and for a couple of weeks I had no idea what was going on. So I was in a moment of panic for a while, so that's why you didn't see anything. Hopefully you'll see something from me, and I'll go into more detail about that later. Any other news stuff going on? Not particularly. If you haven't gone out and seen my website recently, I completely, utterly redid the whole thing, and it looks really cool. So, anybody out there with a browser, go out there and take a look at it. I have a link on Scott Marshall's page, on the APA Centauri page. So, go out there and find it, and go look at my site and leave me mail. Anyway, that's about all I have for now. We'll see you all hopefully in this issue in print. Bum bum, ba-da-da-ba-bum bum, ba-da-da-ba-bum bum, ba-da-da-ba.
This is Mark Dykman coming to you live on Many Voices 3. Yet another James Spielberg audio in APA Centauri, the best APA in the world.
Hi, and welcome to Easy French Lessons, starring French people speaking in French. You'll hear French spoken on one channel and the English translation on the other. Just listen and repeat.
Unit 1, Hellos and Goodbyes. Dialogue 1A.
Imagine you're in the Luxembourg Gardens in Paris waiting for a friend to join you. As you wait, you observe a gentleman and a lady shaking hands and greeting each other.
Bonjour, madame.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Comment allez-vous aujourd'hui?
Bien, merci. Et vous?
Très bien, je vous remercie.
Wouldn't you like to understand what these people are saying to each other and be able to say that yourself? You can. Just listen and repeat.
Bonjour, madame.
Good day, madame.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Good day, monsieur.
Comment allez-vous aujourd'hui?
Pardon me, madame, but you have also fashion taste of a rice cake.
Bien, merci. Et vous?
Really, monsieur, is that your bottom or is that your face?
Dialogue 1B.
As you're having lunch at an outdoor cafe on the Champs-Élysées, two young people going by recognize each other and fall into each other's arms.
At this point of the tape, I allowed YouTube's automatic censoring software to try to remove some copyrighted material. As you can hear, it kind of didn't work too great.
I say again, do not hold me. All right? I fight you. Take that, that, and that. And this also. Aha! I have the advantage of you, I think.
An appropriate intro, I hope. This is Chris Corsi, AC member extraordinaire, coming to you from the sepulchral crypt of the one and only Mike Patrick. Those of you who've been in AC a long time know Mike Patrick as my best bud in the world, high school companion, brother-in-arms, and general all-around psychopath, whose brief but, I don't know, immortal stint in APA Centauri was recently inducted into the Hall of Fame by Scott Marshall. His zines scum on the surface. I think they were, what, 5?
Like 4.5.
4.5. Left a vivid impression on everybody, as I think Scott's induction proves. What do you think about being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Do I get a statue?
It's a Canadian thing, so I think you get a slab of bacon, actually.
Oh, can I get James Spielberg's head?
Now, don't be mean.
I know.
James and I have repaired our
I know, and I was,
as you know.
And I was just thinking, if you could make up for James, and after 10 years, I guess we could. Well, it's not like we're communicating.
Yeah, I guess.
Could be like an unspoken truth.
True. You weren't exactly a reasonable human. Not that you're reasonable now, but...
And you're one to talk.
I know, but look at me. My new tenure in AC, admittedly brief it is, has been all full of sweetness and light.
Yeah.
I hate no man.
Yeah.
And just left. So that's a huge burden off me.
Oh, boy.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. So what's the first thing you think of about when you were doing Scum on the Surface? What do you remember?
Well, I enjoyed being in AC. I mean, it was a long time ago, and...
How many years ago?
10 at least.
At least?
I think, yeah. I just started college.
We're fucking...
It was fun. I was angry. I was an angry young man. Now I'm just an angry old man.
Angry old man. Join the club.
But it was enjoyable. It was a lot of fun. It was a good experience. And
it was what?
Of course, I was great at it because I'm in the Hall of Fame now. So
that's true.
Worship me. Worship me.
That's true. You are in the Hall of Fame. Even though, as I said, it's just Scott. And amazing that Scott should do it because you did exactly.
Yeah, Scott.
You weren't nice to him either. You were nice to anybody except me.
How is it always my fault, baby?
It wasn't your. I didn't say it was your fault. Now, you did do some enduring material.
Apparently, yes. Well, I put a lot of effort.
You did. It was the format, and I myself have tried, not always successfully, to do that too. To try create a format that's different, kind of weird, a little unique. You know.
I think with like the stuff I did with we all did with the graphics. I think on that note, I was pretty good.
And you drew a lot of your own stuff. That's I mean, we've had some good artists, but for the most part, most of us aren't there. Well, now actually, there's a couple of good artists. But, I mean, when we were there, there weren't too many artists.
No, amateur guys. That was okay. This way, because it was too many professional artists who would have browbeat the rest of us.
Yeah, we would have
submit something if you're an amateur.
Yeah, I'm still terrible, and I'm still doing it. It's amazing. In fact, one of the lines in the CD I told you that James did about me was about my drawings, and it said, the only thing worse than his art is drawings by me. So it's true, and I've never seen James' drawings, but apparently either.
Well, apparently he's smart enough not to put them in on
Yes, exactly, right. Very true. The recollections of people in that.
Well, I mean, number one would be Bruce Campbell, of course.
Of course.
How could you not? I mean, he was like...
CM.
Exactly. He was the centerpiece of the work.
Indeed.
And I even butted heads against him once in a while. I was just like that. I was brash.
Yeah, that's true, but Bruce was like the matador. You always took a swipe at him and he just stood there and just sidestepped you.
Yeah.
He never got cheesed off at anybody.
Well, I think he's the only one besides yourself and Larry Duda that I actually spoke to live over the phone. That's not the first time I
spoke to Bruce?
I spoke to Bruce, yeah.
Yeah. He was a nice guy.
He was nice.
Yeah, I met him once in person very briefly. Back in our college days with Larry.
You met Bruce? I didn't know you met Bruce.
Yeah, very briefly. It was before I joined APA Centauri, so I had no idea who he was. So there was no connection to who he was and what he was. I just knew he was a friend of Larry's.
A friend of Larry's. What an interesting thing to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, obviously, James, for all of the first issue that we were actually speaking in, of course, we had to go out. Yeah. And then Scott Marshall and just a bunch of other people that I faceless, nameless.
Some of them are still here, so thank you very much for that.
Hey, it was 10 years ago. I'm sure they don't remember me either.
Jed's gonna go home and hang himself.
Yeah, well, bye, Jed.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry
that you're dead now.
Yeah. Let's see.
Jet Sachs, yeah, I remember him now.
Oh, yeah,
You don't have
sure.
to kill yourself now, Jay.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Don't kill yourself. Yeah, the old man of APA Centauri.
Is he the
As I refer to
official
him.
old man now?
No, I refer to him as that. I'm not sure he's crazy.
Who was the oldest living member of APA Centauri?
Oldest age-wise?
No, the one who's been in the longest.
Oh. Geez, you got me. It's too bad Mike isn't around. Mike was always doing the box scores and could tell you how long
Right.
everybody's been in and how many times they, ended a sentence with a preposition in APA Centauri. All the important stuff.
Exactly, all the things you need to know.
Yeah, Mike was a numbers man. That's his shtick. He had a streak that I couldn't have managed if I was triplets. It's just not even gonna happen in any remote. And since I'm only twins,
That's true.
That's true. My evil twin. He's
We both evil.
Yeah, I think some people thought you were my evil twin.
No.
In fact, I know for a fact that one person who I won't mention who's no longer a member of APA Centauri actually suggested that your zine was created by me as a way to sort of exercise all my dark.
And you're not going to say who that was?
No.
Why?
I'm not.
You'll have to tell me
Because
later.
they're still in contact with others.
So?
So,
the quorum is stopping you now.
I know, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I'm
Chris is afraid to insult
I'm a
somebody.
nice person.
Wait, mark this down on your calendars. Chris Corsi, March 21st, afraid or
No.
not
It's
afraid,
not a question of
wary
insulting.
of hurting somebody's
No,
feelings.
it's a question. It's more to the point of they're not there to defend themselves. So I don't know if 100% of it's fact. That's what I.
That's what you
understood.
understood. I can write my own zine.
Have you ever reconsidered joining it?
Of course. But, you never know.
In fact, I was one of the Ego Blues this year was most surprising return, and that was me.
Wow.
So I guess they expected when I left. I guess I burned a lot of bridges on them.
Yeah, I always think the only way I would join is, well, if I was welcome, of course.
Of course.
I know we have to be invited into
Yes,
places.
True, exactly.
I know. And I would have to be in a situation where I could produce regularly, because what happened the first time was I was enthusiastic. I think that was obvious.
You produce more regularly. That's probably as much as I've done in a while.
And then I just, things came into play where I couldn't do it anymore.
Expect years from now for people to be in therapy going, "Give me that scene!"
It's what pushed me over the edge.
Exactly. Push me over the edge and then drop on top of it. I should probably stop personally.
Oh, we're all big boys and
I was
girls
gonna say,
here.
I feel like this is going out to any children, but James did say he didn't want any. Well, he may say he didn't want any X-rated material. I think we can pretty much rule that out.
Oh, we're not talking about jobs. I know that'll be erased.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the fun of this. You could
Send your letters to
Central
Mike
Patrick.
Patrick.
866. 865.
In 1994, in the first Many Voices 1, Peter verbally recounted a story about a stick that he used to see, which inspired me later to write a song. So I thought I would, he wrote about it in the APA first, but it sort of inspired me to write a song, and I thought it would be interesting to reprise that. It's very short. Here it is.
When I drove to my job interview in September 1991, I noticed this stick hanging over the road on the way. 2 years later, this area has endured ice storms, thunderstorms, heat waves, tornadoes, blizzards, and hail many times over. But the stick is still there, and I see it every day.
Come on, everybody, it's Gibbon time!
A pistol is a man's dream of himself and requires fulfillment. An automobile, too, is sold as a dream, and when the dream fades, rust cracking the seams, the motor heaving, the seats bereft of beautiful women, it too becomes a weapon. This is how the payments are made. To build a city for the automobile is to prepare a battlefield, demanding war. To pierce a city with throughways is to forget the city, because it is the function of a throughway to go on going on, reaching always for somewhere else. And when a city is piled higher than a man's climbing, it makes a dwarf of him, and he is insulted. He resents his size and thinks of revolution. When a city denies a man his history, it makes a bastard of him. When the city spins him like a top, the walking man becomes a cripple, hobbling towards death, and he becomes frightened. The dwarf, crippled bastard is a righteous killer. We can only be thankful that sometimes he chooses not to destroy his city, preferring simply to look elsewhere. From the notebooks of Jonathan Sieg, Itinerant City Planner, published in the Fredericton Heritage Trust Newsletter, number 1, September 1972. Discovered in the archives of the Fredericton High School Library by Scott Marshall sometime in 1991.
Now everybody get ready to do the funky gibbon!
gibbon. Funky gibbon. Drop one arm down by your knees, let the other arm reach up to the trees. Funky gibbon. Funky gibbon.
Stupid grinning, please.
For instance, Special Agent Pooper Scooper here, still in search of that damn fine cup of hot iced cappuccino. Hot iced cappuccino latte. Hold the milk. I was thinking of some sidearms like his travel agent screwed up and he wound up in Twin Falls or some such thing. And then there was also other things regarding, well, he was up in Washington State anyway. Let's really have him in Seattle, and he's touring all the coffee bars, and you'll have a crowd of people who speak and nothing but Starbucks speak. Kind of the Lincoln log lady where you have, she comes in with like a toy log cabin, or Captain's log lady where he goes and ends up in some kind of Star Trek thing, but
I am in the lodge. Write it in your journal. One is too many, and 100 is not enough.
Hello, APA Centauri member.
I am happy, but my timber isn't.
My fist is frozen. My arm is open.
His fist is frozen. My arm is open.
There are many poisonous fire clothes.
There are many reasons why people wear clothes. The beast is dripping.
I got off a train at Swinburne.
I got off the train at Swinburne.
One is too many, and 100 is not enough.
One is too many, and 100 is not enough.
I lost my porcupine in Paris. I should lace.
I lost my porcupine in Paris. It cried to me for days.
And now, in the tradition of weird AC get-togethers of historical members, is Canwell and Sousa together once again.
Hemingway's Chair by Michael Palin, as reviewed in the online magazine www.tomorrowsf.com. Reviewed by Lil O Me, Bruce Canwell. Be warned, there is nothing even vaguely SF-ish about this novel of a reclusive small-town British postal worker ground up by the gears of dubious progress. Still, Hemingway's Chair is the first novel by Michael Palin, who was 1/6 of the comedy troupe Monty Python's Flying Circus before becoming a featured player in the bleak dystopian SF feature film Brazil, and also before turning into the BBC's modern-day Marco Polo for a trio of excellent travelogue features. Credentials like that should make both Palin and his novel of interest to Tomorrow SF readers. Having visited some of the most exotic locales on Earth, Palin has chosen a setting he knows both intimately and affectionately for his first prose work, the sleepy English hamlet. In this case, Feston, a place where a cold wind whips in from the sea, and the annual carnival is the village's social pinnacle. Onto Feston's streets, Palin places 36-year-old Martin Sproul, who lives with his aging mother in Marsh Cottage, and every day bicycles the 2 miles into town to his job as assistant manager at the post office. There, Martin works with Elaine Rudge, with whom he has a long-standing, mostly chaste relationship. Uncomplicated people in a simple little town? So it seems, but Martin has a secret passion. He is an earnest Hemingway devotee, owning rare editions of Papa's books and magazine appearances, stocking his liquor cabinet with all of Hemingway's favorites, and carrying inside his skull an encyclopedic knowledge of the man and his works. Elaine finds Martin's obsession with Hemingway endearing, if beyond her understanding, as indicated by this passage from the book. Quote, "Nothing happened between them until the evening she was first invited up to his room. He'd always maintained that his room was far too much of a mess to take a lady anywhere near, but as they neared Marsh Cottage on the way back, he'd admitted that the real reason was more complicated, and she'd probably laugh at him if he told her. She didn't laugh when she saw the room. She was just relieved he wasn't a train spotter or a serial killer. What struck her most was that it was the room of a different man from the one she knew. Not someone shy and quiet and hesitant, but a man of worldliness and display. He must have had well over 100 books, many in beautiful hardback editions. Elsewhere there was a harpoon, a stack of jazz records, a typewriter, ashtrays from Paris cafes, boxing gloves, African masks. On one wall was a huge scarlet and gold bullfighter poster. On another was the biggest photograph she'd ever seen of anybody, Hemingway himself. She had asked him why anyone would want to live in a room with such a sad picture." End quote. With the retirement of Feston's postmaster, everyone, including Martin and Elaine, assumes Martin will advance to fill the vacancy. Instead, the district office brings in an outsider named Nick Marshall, who begins chipping away at what Palin calls the relationship between post office and community that is close and pervasive. Marshall's smarmy glad-handing and glibness are enough to initially convince Martin to support plans to cut personnel, reduce services, and create improvements like bulletproof counter windows, computer terminals, and a regimented queuing system. With the passing of time, Martin finally realizes the true scope of Marshall's modernization plan. By then, his attempts to fight back are too little, too late. Bit by bit, his supporters desert him, including Elaine, and at last the inevitable happens. Marshall sacks Martin. In America, a novel about a postal worker losing his job would culminate in a scene involving semi-automatic weapons, torrents of blood, and a substantial body count. Fortunately, Michael Palin carries a different sensibility, and the revenge he allows Martin is far more clever, therefore infinitely more satisfying. Without giving away details, I will note it involves new telecommunications equipment Marshall has installed in Feston, a purloined powerboat, and Martin's prized possession, the fishing chair Hemingway used in Peru during the filming of The Old Man and the Sea. Palin has always struck me as the most versatile of the Pythoners, an opinion buttressed in 1994 when I was lucky enough to attend his play The Weekend while vacationing in London. This work only furthers that belief. He could have easily fashioned a whimsical, feel-good piece of puffery, but instead takes his characters to the point of no return, then beyond. This willingness to make readers travel the more challenging road transforms Hemingway's chair into something grander than a novel about the little guy versus impersonal progress. Instead, Palin has delivered the tale of a person who puts everything he holds dear at risk in order to reclaim his individuality, and transforming himself in the process into the man he always dreamed he should be. There are sprinklings of comic moments, but they are far overshadowed by a wistful sadness that ultimately gives way to a glorious redemption. And I, for one, wouldn't have wanted Palin to do it any other way. And I think that's probably close enough for rock and roll. So now...
Three, 602, 1, 600, 599, 598.
Très bien, je vous remercie.
In your hair, it looks like American.
Partira à 10h28.
And what is wrong with being American, you fatuous French pig?
10h28?
What do you mean French? You are French as well.
Ce n'est pas grave.
No, I am not.
1 heure de retard.
Yes, you are.
Ce n'est pas grave.
No, I am not.
1 heure de retard. Ah, ça, c'est incroyable.
Yes, you are. Otherwise, why would you be talking in that accent?
Ça va nous donner le temps.
I am not talking in an accent. I am being translated.
Hi, James. It's Victoria. Victoria. Here is your promised reading. It's about 750 words. Minimalism by Victoria McManus. It's abominably chic, Randall. She's so pallid. The glowing three-dimensional image blinked out as Miranda closed the latest issue of Body and tossed it into the bin on her exerciser. And so bloody artless. The essence of simplicity, Knight says. She bent her head and pushed harder. The gold Perpetual Motion 3 logo fluoresced through her hands. I'll never see another contract so long as I live if that witch... Randall grinned, emphasizing his cavernous cheeks. She'll be dead in 3 months if she keeps that up. Fasting is passé, anyway. Fat should not be devoured by the body for mere sustenance. Waste is the essence of fashion. Besides, her belly begins to protrude, he added snidely, inserting his bony arms into weights. They're going to correct that with surgery. She'll be dead even sooner. She is meat, Miranda. You are art. The world is your mirror. Miranda fretted in silence for the next 6 hours as the exerciser ceaselessly operated her muscles. When it came time for her feeding tube, she said, Randall, in 3 months, skeletal will be passé. Maybe I should go up for OG treatments? My bone mass is up 0.539% this month. No, you are perfect. But to help you out, today you may have a drop of caffeine in your formula, pure from the lab, Randall said with abandon. Miranda felt her face stretch as she smiled gratefully. Ah, Randall, you do know how to make a girl look forward to eating. It's not just my career, it's my one true love, he replied, fitting the glucose bag to her navel port. I create ethereal beauty out of mere crass loveliness. You could never want more from any designer. You're not still worrying about that cover story, are you? I wouldn't bother my head with brassy little imitations of Mahatma Gandhi. Maybe I am still worried a little. The exerciser jolted into action again, and Randall stepped back to a speedball game. Miranda said, surely you could create something new for me, darling. Amputation, Randall said after a time. There was a fad, briefly, and the nostalgia factor might... There would be puckered skin at the site, Miranda pointed out. Hideous. My skin is my finest feature. The treadmill switched on. Robot hands grabbed her elbows. White as styrofoam, Randall agreed reverently. We must accent your exquisite pale skin. You might be on the right track, though, Miranda said, jogging in place, her arms flapping. Nostalgia. Ah, the graceless, grimy past, Randall rhapsodized. From thence my inspiration will strike. Miranda's tube dislodged. After he had staunched the bleeding, Randall exclaimed suddenly, yes. Yes? Miranda asked, gasping queasily. You shall be entirely obese, Randall proclaimed. And how do you expect me to accomplish that before the fall shows? No surgery, I promise you. I can make it work if you'll help me, and we shall be the talk of the planet. Miranda deliberated, ignoring the pain as the exerciser wrenched her limbs. Finally, she said, Randall, you promised no surgery. What about eating? The designer lowered his racket. Ingestion by mouth would make things easier, darling, but if you really mean it, I do. Unless, of course, there's no alternative. Well, then, I'm sure we can manage something. I will set a goal, and once you have reached it, we will refine from there. All right? Randall, I shall give you an extra 5% of my fall contracts. If the gamble pays off, this will only be a small token of my thanks. Randall dropped his racket and walked over to her exerciser. All right, darling. Remember that when you're hating me for the next 2 months. I won't, I promise. This is for my career. Miranda couldn't see his face as he replied, Oh, yes, you will, my lovely. You'll hate me before you love me again. Your goal is 75 pounds. Randall switched off her exerciser. Miranda shrieked as grips clanged open and her arms flopped painfully to her sides. Prongs withdrew in sequence. Her head sagged, her shoulders fell, her knees collapsed into the emergency cushion. She huddled, defeated, unable to lift herself. Randall's fingers touched the top of her bald skull. Have I ever failed you before, my lovely? He asked tenderly. No. Miranda lolled her head against the side of the exerciser's stall and looked up at him forlornly. But why does art have to be so hard? The end. 9:10 p.m. Tuesday.
Hello, APA Centauri. This is Peter Rickwitz coming at you.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the House of Cheese.
Where is that from?
It's from the House of the Rising Sun. You know that song. Actually about, like, House of Ill Repute or something. I should explain that my younger son, Edward, is a total cheesehead. He loves cheese in every form, every kind of cheese. There's nothing he'd rather eat than cheese. When I have a big hunk of, like, Havarti cheese, and I go to cut off a piece for him, he'll say, no cut, no cut. He'll go to eat the whole hunk. When he has a big hunk of cheese like that, he calls it a house of cheese. There is a house.
Don't sing it.
In New Orleans.
Don't sing it.
That's the whole point.
I don't want you to sing it. Are you
They
going to sing
call
it?
the house of
I'm not singing it. Hey.
Well, if we sing it into the tape, then we can hear it on the tape. There is a house in New Orleans. They call the house of cheese.
That way we wouldn't hear it.
It's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and me, oh Lord, I'm one. So if you go to New Orleans, don't you do the things I done.
Let's go.
Stay away from the house of cheese.
Let's go a bit.
And the house of the rising sun.
Good afternoon. I notice that you are all rather quiet. That is because of the music. It is true that peaceful music brings a quiet and relaxed state of mind. One of the things you will see as you go through your program to end your habit is that relaxation is important in relieving the mental stress you may feel.
Let me take you down. And then you go, whoa. You do something like...
I make sentences with a computer. I make senses. I used to type on clean paper and see the words that were in my head, suddenly on paper with no secondary brain in between. Now I use a computer with a TV screen. It underlines words that it doesn't think exists, like my own name. It tells me that there should be a comma here and a colon there. The words stay on the screen until the order to print, an order I don't have to give. It can stay on the screen forever. I can save it on tape, on disc, put it on the information superhighway. I can erase it like a wayward pencil stroke. Someday I suppose I'll just talk to the computer, and it'll transcribe what I say, gently suggesting minor changes in a polite tone. The machine will be my confidant, partner, editor, co-creator. Soon even the text will disappear, and my likeness will be stored on tape, on disc, on the information superhighway, to be retrieved on demand, performing a dramatic reading of my own work in the author's voice. And when I die, my digital partner will carry on our good work. It will know better than anyone else what I might have said about any given topic. It will use its artificial but formidable intelligence to extrapolate my reply to any inquiry, to create new depths of expression which I was unable to achieve in life. It all seems so inevitable that I think I'll put down my pen and go outside for a while.
I love the sound. Ooh, come on, baby. Can I buy you a drink? All right, I'll have a gin in it. Well, come on, baby, my little darling. Want to drink with me? Come on, honey, maybe we'll go back to my flat. My flat. I love your soul. Come on, little baby. All right, I think I'll come out your flat with you, yeah, you know. It's oh so smoochy here in this apartment block. I really love it. Would you like another drink, my dear? I'll go on and twist my arm. Yeah. It's back. Yeah. Do. You see, you can have acres of fun on these.
Please, no comedy.
This is Mark Dykman with A Piece, God's Prison. In the 5th year of my captivity, they gave me a pen. Perhaps it was a small gesture of kindness, a humane act by my kindly wardens. I hope the act filled their pathetic egos with satisfaction, if not joy. A day later, a ream of rough plain paper also appeared. but the manic energy that had consumed me upon receiving their gift had not been deterred. In one day I had filled in a 4-foot-tall block on one of my colorless cell walls. Having started on the wall, I felt committed to the act and continued to cover its surface with writing. My hand was somewhat shaky after 5 years of eating, sleeping, sitting, and staring at my prison for mind-numbing hours on end. I even remember the time when I stared at a tiny crack on the wall for 24 hours straight. At least, I assume that's how long I spent on that particular project. I had no timepiece to verify the duration. The muscles in my right hand and arm quickly began to cramp from both the awkward position they labored in and the many months of disuse. Yet I ignored the pain, the warnings that what I was doing was unnatural and terribly wrong, for I could not stop. The pen moved like a living thing, and I was merely a conduit for some great exposition. Of course, I was quite mad by then. Any time God finds himself imprisoned, he can't help but lose his grip on reality. End of piece. Thank you very much.
446, 445.
It started that I think it's nice that I can go to stores with Rachel and does that have to do it? That I can go to stores with Rachel and like do things and then she won't hate me for it. Like when we go to the supermarket, you know you can buy those like long sausages like in a wrapped thing and I can pull her down the aisle with it going and she doesn't then not talk to me for a minute. So I like the supermarket because I find so it's a really surreal place if you don't go thinking it's a chore and really pay attention to what's going on because there's 21 different kinds of mustards. And I think it's amazing that like there are 21 kinds of mustards. That as a race we can organize our energy better and not produce 21 kinds of mustards. But the story, it actually wasn't a CBS, it was a...
My wife has been telling me for years that when she first met me, I was using a lot of bad language. And at first I didn't quite believe her, but then I got the tape from Mr. Corsi and Mr. Patrick, and noticed that there was a lot of cursing on it. In fact, I thought it was kind of funny because one of the things I asked people to do was not put on any, terrible content because I wanted to work on the tape with my kids around. And I knew that Peter might be listening to Many Voices with his kids around, so I wanted to, keep it kind of family-oriented there. But when I got the tape from Mr. Corsi and Mr. Patrick, there was an awful lot of cursing on it. In fact, so much so that I present for your pleasure the censored Corsi and Patrick, or the cursing Corsi.
At one period of time. It would be like the black hole. It would become so dense with stuff that it would just suck everything else into it.
Make Beavis and Butthead look like the 310ers.
Yeah, that was cool.
You said
yeah.
Well, it's gonna hit the planet, so who gives a
I hope so.
I know, really, it's about time for the human race.
It really is.
I've had my fun. I've reproduced. I've done my business.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. No matter how obscure, no matter how brief of the relationship, and some of them you're really stretching by calling it a relationship.
Yes,
what's your name again?
Yeah.
Call back in one form or another they come back. Even the one I thought would never call back, thought it was a on it. Call back.
Either they're haunted by you somehow and they have to talk to you, or they decide you were a total to date, but you'd be a great friend, and you actually are. Yeah, be like Rosie O'Donnell. Tell us you're not a fat.
I'm not a fat and thank you. I know the rumors have been circulating.
It's true, yeah.
Hey, look, she should die just for liking Barbra Streisand.
She just kicked the out of it. Was it Sidney Poitier? And let it
molten.
Oh, I can't let Barbara Smith do this to the world. And
anybody who at least makes the effort to do something that's okay. You're in the scene, I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
I think anybody who makes the effort...
I swear you made me say that.
That's right, I have a gun to his head. Anybody who takes the effort to make at least something creative is going above and beyond, because people are all, heads. I mean, whether it was the TV, you just grab all the things you like and think are cool and say, hey, look at this, I think this is cool. You may not have seen this because I was... Yeah, exactly.
He said it, not me.
I did.
But I was a Mad magazine. Who decides?
Tweet offends me.
Exactly. If you find it offensive, don't look at it. Turn the radio off. Don't go to the movie. Don't buy certain. And what relates you probably offends me.
Right.
But who decides?
Tweet offends me.
Turn the radio off. Don't go to the movie. Don't buy.
A philosophy that respects intelligence, even though we don't think most people have it, rather than the philosophy which says you're such a idiot that if you read this book or see this movie, then you'll kill yourself, take drugs, the wrong people and all these other things, so we have to protect you.
Exactly.
All these people out of money or equipment. What, out of millions of dollars? No, probably not. Probably, maybe not even thousands. But I was like, you know what? He was an idiot. I don't care.
Hey, he paid the pipe to people, and somebody got back at
I mean,
you.
maybe a bit of a hard price to pay.
Well, he'll never do it again.
Yeah, that's life.
Exactly, because I think it's right, and not necessarily even morally right. I think it's necessary. There are unnecessary evils in the world. Wake up, America. We don't live in a utopia. There's a lot of people who are out there, and they should be made to dog food, and that's just the way it is.
We should know. We know half.
Exactly. I mean, kidding.
Yeah, that was that. I remember that night. The thing I remember is you opened that piece with a picture of the Punisher.
The Punisher,
like
well,
firing a machine gun into a crowd, and then you get killed with a broomstick in jail, probably by some total heroin addict. That's pretty embarrassing.
But yeah, good old Jeffrey.
Good old Jeff. Yeah. Some people are just too up for words.
Hello, this is the tortoise. I understand you're people willing to sample. Anyway, that's what Quentin told me. And I can never believe half the things he says. I tell you a story, but I have this crisis right now. We have some lizards from Central Texas down here, and they're looking for some cash. They want to bankroll some stupid set of commercials. You know how it goes. I hate money growers. Anyway, I have to go take care of this. So good night. I hope Quentin forwards you this.
This one's different. Oh, France! Welcome to the castle. Quite a windy night out, yeah? But you know, I always love it here in Hirschwig von Schlechtstein. Have another tankard with me before we retire for the night. Oh, Hans, you're so hospitable. All right, mate. Who's this Hans character? I've never heard of him. Don't worry, my darling. We're all together. Woo! You can have a lot of fun on these things. Oh, I'll tell you. So it's a good laugh. Oh boy. Then you got the earliest. You're supposed to be holding the mic steady and behaving.
Okay. You ready? Okay. You ready? Okay. You ready?
You brought me on my Achilles buttock. This you must not do. It pains me very much.
Words fail me. For years I've struggled with them, trying to grasp them tightly, but they are slippery things. Sometimes they're sharp and prick my fingers. Sometimes they leave a tacky residue in my palms. A word which I've long mastered will suddenly sound strange, as if I've never known it before. Some will perform like circus animals for other writers, but won't even wake up for me. Some words must never be spoken or written in polite circles, and are indicated by their first letter. Lots of words start with F, but there is only one F word. You can be more subtle with other words, even a wholesome one like milk. People read those words and they get a little and I want to satisfy them, but I stumble and I fumble, and the mood is broken. There is no crueler fate than this syntactic impotence.
You must not prod me on my Achilles buttock. It is very on fire that I cannot wiggle it away.
Let us begin with you, miss.
Oh. Well, I guess I want to quit because I don't want to smell. I put on this expensive perfume, but I still smell.
Things will smell even better to you. Things will smell better and taste better.
And of course, I never could quite bring myself to analyze music. It's one of the many things, I guess, that keeps me from really feeling like I'm part of the group. That and not getting most of the in-jokes. I'm talking about APA Centauri, of course. But certainly not going out of my way to analyze music. I have actually come up with things like, say, top 100 tunes in my book, but in the past, but never actually sat down and wrote a page on each song. I would find that very difficult. Well, I just happen to like that one, or that song came out at just the right time when I just felt like that was my kind of song, and they don't overplay it on the radio. That's why I still like it, yes. I don't know.
All right, now, for your listening enjoyment, I present a dramatic reading of the works of the great national poet of Scotland, Robert Burns. His masterpiece, Tam O'Shanter, A Tale. When Chapman Billies leave the street, and through the neighbors meet, as market days are wearing late, and folk begin to attack the gate.
61, 160, 159.
Just listen to your CD, Freaky and the Beans or whatever, Flaky and the Crumbs, Black Jacket and the Hand Grenades, something like that, I don't know. From I've done radio engineering type stuff before standpoint, it's quite a production. Definitely enjoyed that, which is good because there were certain aspects of it, mostly in the inside joke category. I had no idea what was going on, so even after all these years, of course not being inside privy to anything in the outfit certainly doesn't help any. And certain folks out there who I don't think have ever emceed any of my writing. Not that it really truly deserves it, but still, I noticed. I know from the putting the thing together standpoint, I certainly appreciate all the effort that went into it, and the sound was fun.
Now while this tale of truth shall read, ilk man and mother's son take heed, whene'er to drink you are inclined, or cuddy sarks run in your mind. Think, ye may buy that joys o'er dear, remember Tam O'Shanter's mare. And that's the end.
She's got me rockin' and rollin', rockin' and a reelin', common gram, common gram.
Some days the trees round here try to get up and walk. Some days my love floats above like a bird. Some days my hands turn so cold in the sideways wind. Your old dog loved to roll around on the yard. I always return to the place where I killed myself. My biology teacher was a jolly young man. What could I salvage from the wreck of my future self? Clever ant lion digs his hole in the sand. Which of us hasn't left our towel on the bathroom floor? The stars were so close that they singed all the trees. The halo of forest fire popped out the pine cone seeds. 500 feet in the air, I felt my breath freeze. 500 feet in the air, I felt my breath freeze. My neighbor's grandchildren play ball in the parking lot. I never was happy till you reached out your hand. Somewhere I have to find my brother's rag dolls again. Clever ant lion digs his hole in the sand. The clever ant lion digs his hole in the sand.
I love Henrietta. Nobody ever loved me any better. She's my Henrietta. She looks nice in any sweater. I don't know what she sees in me. I'm just glad that she loves me. I think that she's really fine. I love her all the time. I love my Henrietta. I don't know what she sees in me, but she makes me very happy. She's been here for many years, even though I caused her tears. I love my Henrietta.
5, 4, 3, 3 3/4, 3 1/2, 3 3/8, 3 1/4,
3 and 3/16. 3 and 1. Look, I'm a bomb, for heaven's sake. I'm bending over backwards to be fair and reasonable, but at the end of the day, I'm a bomb. And what bombs do, not to put too fine a point of it, is they blow up. Look, do you think I want to blow up? Do you think I enjoy the prospect of smearing myself all over half a parsec of space? Well, I don't, frankly. But we were all called upon to do things that we don't like from time to time, and you are making it very difficult for me. Recommencing countdown. Now, 1,000. 999. 998.
Are you ready for it?
That's the best reason of all. You have all read the many reports that tie health problems to some serious diseases. As soon as you stop getting these diseases, your risk of getting these diseases begins to decrease.
Well, I'm quitting for my health, too. But I also have my niece and her 2 children living with me, and I don't think living in a house is good for them. So I guess I'm doing it for all of us.
Yeah, well, my wife is the one who started bugging me. She makes me go out on the back porch whenever I want, and that's no fun when the weather's lousy, so I'm trying to quit. Look, I know quitting will be good for me if I can stick to it, and I know it'll save me some money. Besides, I may even get a little peace and quiet.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Lucy who lived at a farm called Littletown. She was a good little girl, only she was always losing her pocket handkerchiefs. One day, little Lucy came into the farmyard, crying. Oh, she did cry so. I've lost my pocket handkin. 3 handkins and a penny. Have you seen them, tabby kitten? Lucy scrambled up the hill as fast as her short legs would carry her. She ran along a steep pathway, up, up, up and up until Littletown was right down below. She could have dropped a pebble down the chimney.
3, 2, 1. Hemingway's Chair by Michael Palin. Let's start that again. Hemingway's Chair by Michael Palin. Hello. Can't even get out of the intro here. My dad would say I'm talking like a salesman with a mouthful of samples. Okie dokie, here comes take 6 in 3, 2, 1. Hemingway's Chair by Michael Palin. As reviewed in the online magazine www.tomorrowsf.com. Reviewed by Lil Ol' Me, Bruce Canwell. Be warned, there is nothing you can... Coughing up a hairball here. And we'll do take 5 in 3, 2, 1. Reviewed by Little Ol' Me, Bruce Canwell. Be warned, there is nothing even vaguely SF-ish about this novel of a reclusive small-town British postal worker ground up by the gears of dubious progress. Still, Hemingway's Chair is the first novel by Michael Palin, who was 1/6 of the comedy troupe Monty Python's Flying Circus, before becoming a featured player in the Stumbled over that. Take 3 in 3, 2, 1. Hemingway's Chair by Michael Palin. Reviewed by Little Ol' Me, Bruce Canwell. Before he became a featured player in the bleak dystopian SF film Brazil, and then turned into the BBC's modern-day Marco Polo for a trio of excellent travelogue series. Credentials like that should make both Palin and his novel of interest to Tomorrow SF readers. Having visited some of the most exotic locales on... that up. Okay. All right. All righty then. Here comes Hemingway's Chair, take 4 in Hemingway's Chair by Michael Palin. Having visited some of the most exotic locales on Earth, Palin has chosen a setting he knows both intimately and affectionately for his first prose work, the sleepy English hamlet. In this case, Feston, a place where a cold wind swips in. Yeah, it swips in, all right. Ooh, it swips in. Hoo-hoo, that's a goody good candy. Hoo. I bet that sounds really good. Okay, here we go. Take 7. He realizes the true scope of Marshall's modernization plans. By then, his attempts to fight back are too little, too late. Bit by bit, his supporters desert him, including Elaine. And at last, the inevitable happens. Marshall, sad. Yeah, I was going right along there. But, yahoo, a little gulpy gurp there. Okay, this is take 8.
Did I tell you that bit in Deconstructing Harry? He goes to Woody Allen, recent movie, I don't know how many of you may have seen it. Woody Allen, fictionally, goes to rescue his kidnapped love, and he's confronting the devil, and he's like, I came to get her back, and the devil, please, you're gonna, this is my domain. And he says, yes, but see, this is and I've got more power than you. He goes, what did you ever do? You rebelled against God. Big deal. I've committed every sin there is. I've lied, I cheat, I drink, I take pills, I've cheated on my wives, I've done all this stuff. He goes, so, as far as goes, I'm the big kahuna. What else? I don't know. What else do you if you were back in AC right now, let's just say, for the sake of conversation, what would you be? I mean, do you think your zines would resemble in some way? I mean, obviously, hopefully they grow.
I still hope they grow.
They'd be less.
They're already colossus.
I think they were caustic. Actually, you had to handle the paper with like asbestos ties.
Yeah. Well, I tried to supply the gloves with all of my zines. I don't know if they got out to you guys.
The Postal Service had a problem.
They had a problem with the gloves. Yeah, the asbestos gloves. Well, 10 years later, I'm just as angry. But
if not more so.
If not more so, more has happened. I think I would certainly do all the graphics. Yeah, the difference would be I'm computerized now, so I would do. You slob. I would do.
Hey, if Howard Stern could do it, so can I.
Exactly, make millions. There would be more stuff because I have access to more stuff, and I would tie it in together. Basically the same format, I'd
yeah, with your internet capabilities, I think you could download some pretty wacky.
Oh yeah, there'd be a lot of good stuff to do. But I know.
Let me say 2 words: the horse.
The horse.
And leave it at that.
Exactly.
Yeah. If any of you have ever wanted to with a soup spoon, I suggest you get.
If you have an email address, give it to Chris, and I will send you the horse, and you will never be the same.
No, don't send that to anybody without letting them know what it is first, because I don't want to.
You ruined my.
I don't want to be guilty. Oh my! Could you imagine?
Oh my! Yeah. Well.
It is. That's both
Irish. Yeah.
So you a little more than I am. I'm half, but it's diluted. Irish and Scottish. So.
You're Irish and Italian.
Yeah. No, I mean the Irish part is diluted with Scot, which goes back a ways. But
there you go.
Yeah, I mean that's true. We have friends who have opinions which are radically different from ours. I mean, my own life. But again, you're right. It's not some knee jerk. Oh, the death penalty's wrong because we're not supposed to kill. Well, that doesn't seem to stop anybody from killing in war or George Carlin did that bit. He said with the death penalty, sanctity of life. He was saying, but look at what we kill with mold, mildew, the crabs, fungus, weeds, E. coli. No.
It's a tremendous conceit on humanity's part to think there's some sanctity to our lives. For God's sake, some pregnancies here that should not come to term. And the best way to deal.
Think of a couple of people off.
Yeah, really. I can think about the Kennedys.
Yeah. And I said this recently in Horror APA, and I'm sure to off a couple of its members. But I said, I've never had a personal encounter with a goth type who wasn't a total.
That's true.
Ever. Now that maybe is 5 or 6, which might be a small subsection of the group. But when 5 out of 5 or 6 out of 6 are total. Is that the most hypocritical you ever heard? I hate when people do that.
What, there's a little...
I'm a Luddite.
You're a Luddite, yes.
As well. I still type my zines. Although you did. You typed your zines in those days. You probably would you process them now if you were doing them?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, especially, of course I would.
Do you even own a typewriter anymore?
No.
See, I still have the same one that I had in those days.
I know.
Amazing, because I'm really rough on the
You still have a hammer and a chisel.
That's true. I'm ordering a pestle. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, it's funny, because I really am hard on appliances. I mean, just the attachment alone,
Hey, no dirty stuff.
I know. Oh, that's an old joke.
Yeah, very old joke. It's very old.
Yes, that too. Maurice, I think his name was.
Yes.
A lovely fellow.
But the story, it actually wasn't a CVS. It was a super keg, which is like a CVS. It's one of those places that, like, you can get your photos developed as a pharmacy. You can buy sodas. You can buy greeting cards. One of those like Genevieve's kind of all-purpose places. And one of the reasons why we went there was that we needed to buy nothing. And I kind of got over. I remember when, like I first started to know you, like I was uneasy about buying, and I've kind of gotten over that because I don't feel like it's really anything to be uncomfortable about at this point. I pretty much buy them now without anything else with me, and the girl just puts them in the bag, and I tell her I don't need a bag, and I don't see why I have to be like. We went to the store. Part of the point of buying, and they're always interestingly placed for some reason. They're never like in the front, and they're by the pharmacy guys, which I guess gives it a medical kind of feel. So the problem is that when I'm with Rachel, I want to talk about them, like what kind we should get, and she doesn't want me talking loud enough so the other people can hear. So anyway, in this like very general place, which wasn't in New York, which was like in suburban land, in the bottom, in the corner, where no one else could see it, there were boxes of cream for men to keep them lasting longer during which I'd never seen before. I'd only seen in the back of magazines, and I didn't think you could get it that easily. I thought you would have to like go to like a special place.
42nd Street.
42nd. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was like. I mean, you could take your kids here and pick it up, and so.
I will put it on the dog.
Right. Yeah. So I got to like hold it up and yell at Rachel like, look, it's like last long cream. And she got to come over and we got to talk about whether I should buy it or not, which we didn't, just because I didn't feel like I wanted to admit that I'm not 17 at this point. Anyway. I want to say that. So the whole thing had to do with the fact that the knocks are next to the birth tests, and I don't think they should be. I think the fact of having the pregnancy tests next to those knocks is like conflicting interests, and it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that like I'm buying this to protect me from that, but in case you mess up, I should be buying this too. And I think they should like have a buy one get one free sale, or buy 2 boxes and you're not going to get a pregnancy test. And the other thing that was funny in the Super X place was this toe cap, which was like you're supposed to like buy it for your foot, and like it was a big like curved arc hollow thing. That was like a sponge that you would put on your toe to protect your toe from, I guess, fungus. But it could have easily fit on one's. It could have been like you know, like how they have those nose numbers. It could have worked like that for one's. So I tried to convince Rachel to buy one for me, but she told me not to. And so I'm glad that I can do things like that. But I would think that some people would get upset.
Did you deal with them about toe caps?
Toe caps in public areas, or the alternate uses for toe caps.
3, 2, 1.